Hi, my name is Jim Horn. I'm a physical therapist. Just want to do a brief video for this upcoming platform tennis season. Give you guys some tips on how to keep your shoulder and your elbow healthy. Okay. So I just want to talk a little bit about the shoulder joint. I think when most folks think of the shoulder, they think of this area right here, which is a ball and socket joint, where the head of your humerus, which is the long bone in your arm, sits in a shallow saucer called the glenoid fossa. Okay. And one of the things that you guys probably heard of is the rotator cuff. The rotator cuff is four small muscles that come around the back of the shoulder blade and sit in the top of that head of the humerus. The primary function of the rotator cuff is to help center the ball of that humerus in that shallow saucer as you're doing these great physiological ranges of motion. When the rotator cuff is weakened or damaged or injured or it's not working optimally, what can happen is when you elevate your arm, as you do in an overhead sport like paddle, is the head of that humerus can kind of roll and glide upward and two bones can come together, making a very tight space for the rotator cuff tendons to pass through. And that's when you can end up with pain and inflammation. Okay, so a very important thing that I like to talk about with shoulder with my patients is the platform on which that scapulothoracic, or rather the humeral joint sits, the glenohumeral joint sits, is on the scapulothoracic joint. I like to refer to this as the core of the shoulder. This is the scapula, or your wing bone, as it sits under thorax, which is your rib cage. And a lot of times, what happens with guys who sit a lot during the day for work is postural issues start to creep in. Where you're sitting down, you might be a little slumped forward, your head might jut out a little bit as you're working on your computer or staring at your monitor all day, or you're looking at your iPads and your iPhones, and the whole shoulder complex starts to girdle, starts to ride forward and tilt down. So over the course of time, you might tend to get tight in the front and loose and weakened in the back. The problem there is that when you go to do something like platform tennis and you're not properly warmed up, when you go to do overheads and serves, this narrow space that the tendons are running through is made even narrower because that whole base is tilted down and forward. Okay? So a couple of things that I want to just show you that you can do to assess your range of motion and some drills that you can do to make sure that your range of motion is full to prevent injury. We're going to start here with the available range you should have in the glenohumeral joint. For starters, you ought to be able to get your arm up to about 180 degrees up by your ear. You should be able to reach behind your back with both arms and touch the opposite scapula. Reach overhead. Okay? So you can do a real quick test using a wall or the floor. If you just line up your feet a couple inches away from the wall, you get your butt and your shoulder blades against the wall. Just try reaching with your thumbs out to see if you can touch the wall behind you. Okay? Now, a very common compensation you might see is in an effort to get the hands to the wall, is you might do excessive extension of the lumbar spine and let the ribs flare up. So when you try this drill, see if you can get the pure glenohumeral flexion by bringing your rib cage down, keeping your back from flaring up. So rather than this, you want to look more like this. If you find that you're not able to touch the wall with your thumbs, that's something you might want to address before the season gets underway. Okay? Another thing that you can do to stretch out, since you're typically sitting and rounded forward here and tight in the anterior or front structures, is to use a corner to stretch the front. Get into this 90-90 position at the shoulders and the elbows, and just lean in and hold for a nice static, sustained stretch for about 20 to 30 seconds. Okay, so we're counteracting that pulling forward of the shoulder blade. Okay? One of the reasons why it's important to have free moving glenohumeral joint is to make sure, since this is a very mobile area, that forces don't dissipate coming down into the elbow, which is a very common area where people get injured. They get the lateral epicondylosis. I say epicondylosis rather than itis because recent studies have shown it's actually not an inflammatory process going on at that tendon. It is a very tough thing to treat. For those of you guys who have had it over the years, you know what a pain it can be. And what's going on there is the wrist and finger extensors, which are responsible for doing this, they attach up here on the outside of that bony prominence called your lateral epicondyle. And when you're hitting platform balls, and particularly volleying with the backhand, what you're doing repetitively is the ball's hitting your racket in this position, and those muscles are preventing your wrist from collapsing. So they're keeping your wrist stable, okay? So you want to make sure that those forearm muscles are nice and loose. You can stretch them out by fully extending the elbow and flexing the wrist, okay? Again, sustained static stretching for about 20 to 30 seconds. You can strengthen those forearm muscles by using a simple device like this, where you take a light weight and you would simply roll it up back towards you, going into wrist extension. You can get to the top of the motion, and then you can unwind it as well. This would be a nice thing to prepare yourself to get your forearm muscles ready for the demands of the platform season. Okay? Another trick that you can use, if you find that you're not able to get good mobility in the mid-back, the thoracic spine, when you reach overhead and you reach behind, one of the things that you need to have is the ability to extend in the mid-back. Okay? When people are sitting all day and they get a little stiff in the mid-back, it becomes a heck of a lot harder to reach overhead or to reach that opposite shoulder. So you can use some lacrosse or tennis balls. You can use lacrosse or tennis balls to use the wall or the floor. If you put the lacrosse ball between your shoulder blades and your spine, you might find some trigger points in there that need a little bit of work. You can do one of two things. You can do a nice sustained static release where you're just leaning against the ball for 20 to 30 seconds and roll around a little bit on it. You can also add some movement of your arm into various planes of movement, reaching across your body, overhead, out to the side, and do a little bit of what's called active tissue release. It's a nice mobility drill. In addition to being able to move your mid-back and your thorax like this into extension, into this sagittal plane of movement, you can also do some rotation drills. So come on over here. Very simple drills to get down on all fours and sit back on your heels a little bit. And you're going to take your arm and you're going to reach underneath you and then out to the side. So what you're getting here, two things. On the support arm, you're getting your rib cage moving on your fixed scapula. And on your free moving arm, you're getting your scapula moving on the rib cage. In addition to getting rotation in that mid-back thoracic spine. So these are just a couple of pointers and tips about how to prevent injury in your shoulder and in your elbow. Again, the elbow is a real bear to fix. If you have any issues right away, don't wait. It generally doesn't just resolve on its own, and the longer you go, the more difficult it is to treat. If you have any pain at all or any questions, I'm more than happy to answer at any time. You can always give me a call or shoot me an email. I look forward to everyone having a happy and healthy paddle season 2013-14, and see you out there on the courts.